There is some breaking news from CNN. Manu Raju reporting that there is a new skinny Ukraine measure being negotiated. Brian Fitzpatrick and Don Bacon, two Republicans who are definitely more on the other side of the conference than we are. And they believe that we could lash about $20 billion in Ukraine munitions to a remain in Mexico policy on the border. They think they can go middle out on that, getting some Democrats $20 billion for Ukraine. We get remain in Mexico. My initial sense of that, having not reviewed the legislation because it hasn't been put out, is that that's probably a bad deal for our country. That if we're going to be in some escalatory environment with Russia, just to be able to reinstitute a policy that Joe Biden could with the stroke of a pen is really concerning. I know you haven't seen the bill either because it doesn't yet exist, but just the concept of taking remain in Mexico in exchange for tens of billions more for Ukraine, how do you think the Freedom Caucus is going to absorb that?
Well, I'm sure this is the last $20 billion that Don Bacon and the others are going to ask for their campaign donating defense contract. I mean, their Ukraine friends. I'm sure this is the last $20 billion they'll ask for. No, I'm not for any supplemental that's not paid for.
Okay, so any country, any place in the world, we have to find offsets to pay for it.
Yes, when you got $34 trillion national debt, a $200 billion monthly deficit, at some point that's got to matter. The days of spending without consequence are over. With 40-year high inflation, 20-year high interest rates, our credit being downgraded, American people suffering under the inflation and the interest rates, those days are over of where it was just an abstract concept for the economists with the green visors on and the banker's lamp. So yeah, it's got to start somewhere. Even Israel's funding, and I think we both voted the same way on that. Love Israel. They're, I think, our #1 most important ally on the world stage. But we shouldn't be borrowing from the kids and the grandkids. When we can cut climate funding, we can cut the UN, we can cut the IRS expansion. There's lots of low-hanging fruit of spending that's harmful to the country, not only just wasteful. So I'm for offsets because we got to turn the page and stop doing unpaid supplementals. That said, I think I share your view that I don't support funding for Ukraine anyway. And I certainly wouldn't give money to this administration in the name of them pretending to do something they're not going to do. You know, I think you could make a case, I'll sound a little soft here, if we had a true border security bill, H.R. 2, where we had enforcement mechanisms where we meted out a little bit of money to essentially buy that border security for the country, and they didn't get the money until they performed, and it was paid for with offsets
Not for Ukraine, but for our country, right?
Yes.
That it's performance-based funding, and that performance is measured by border crossings.
Exactly, exactly. Then you could make an argument if you paid for it with offsets and it was performance-based and they had to actually execute the policy that ended the border invasion, you could make an argument for negotiating that.
Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel with notifications turned on. You won't want to miss any of the breaking news.